Tomorrow night, it ends. 2 drops in his wine, and we're free. Morayo's voice floated down the staircase like perfume and poison. She stood by the balcony of the master bedroom in Maitama, Abuja, phone pressed to her ear, smiling into the dusk. From the shadow of the hall below, a man froze mid-step the man she was planning to bury. Olanrewaju to the people who truly knew him had landed 2 days earlier than scheduled. Nigeria's quiet energy baron, the son who built an empire on grit and clean deals, had flown in from London to surprise his wife. He wanted that old smile again, the one that made boardrooms seem small and home feel infinite. Instead, he found a theatre of death being rehearsed with his name on the program. He did not breathe. He did not blink. He let the words cut him and count him. Yes, Kunal, he trusts me. He still thinks I'm asking about gifts from duty-free. A silvery laugh. No, no one suspects. Barrister will read the will next week. Everything rolls to me. Let the poison be tasteless. I already picked the casket classy. I won't prod the corpse. The hospital will say cardiac arrest. Abuja will cry. Then we fly Dubai first. Kunal. Adi's jaw set, the muscles in his face barely moved. Kunal Adigan, boyhood friend, board advisor, est man at their wedding, godfather to Daniel, Uncle Kunal to Zuri. The call ended. Morayo hummed softly and raised a tiny brown bottle to the light. Its label was blank. The future inside it was not. Adi did not storm the room. He did not break. He withdrew the way a hunter backs off the wrong trail, slow, measured, quiet. At the back door, Sani, his driver, blinked. Ogre, I thought Rockwell Hotel, Adi said, voice low, clipped, controlled. We were never here, tell no one. That night, alone in a dim hotel suite, Abuja's skyline pulsing beyond the glass, Ade listened to silence. He could have called the police. He could have charged up those stairs and let grief turn the house to rubble. But grief is a terrible lawyer, and rage is a bad surgeon. He needed precision. He opened WhatsApp, pressed record, and stitched a mask over his voice. Hey babe, Port Harcourt first. Meeting pushed to Saturday, then I'll fly home. Get some rest. Pick a restaurant we'll celebrate. Love. He added a red heart he didn't feel and sent it to Morayan. Then he called 2 numbers he trusted with his life, Mama Bissi, his senior PA of 18 years, and Detective Tiga, the private investigator he swore he'd never need. Finally, he called Dr. Fatima Yusuf at Medex Suites, the cardiologist, who supervised his post-surgery checkups when a stress scare nearly took him 2 years back. He told them almost everything. Not the part where his heart was splitting like a calabash dropped on tile. Not the part where the ghost of their wedding day sat on the edge of that bed and wouldn't leave. By morning, the machine was moving. Mama Bissi arrived at a service entrance of the mansion at dawn, wearing a cleaner's gown over her ankara. She was short and steady, a woman whose words came wrapped in prayer and practicality. While the official CCTV system continued to present a loyal story to Morayo's phone, the hidden chandelier Cam Ade had authorized months ago blinked alive, its tiny lens nested among crystals. Detective Tiga secured audio A button mic under the vanity table, a pen with a camera in the wardrobe, and a silent recorder behind the headboard. Chain of custody, timestamps, mirrored backups, no leak, no rumor, no mercy for doubt. At noon, ADA watched from Rockwell. He watched Morayo call Kunal and plan a tragedy. He watched her hold up the bottle to the mirror, whispering, "Freedom in 2 drops." He watched her rehearse tears. He watched her smile when she thought no one was watching. Some smiles sharpen knives. Sani brought Joe off wrapped in foil. AD didn't touch it. Hours stretched like a drumskin. In the afternoon, Detective Tiga forwarded a metadata Trace Kunal's burner number briefly pinged near a pharmacy in Woos 2 the week prior. The camera there would take a day to pull. Barrister Ifoma Okoye, Ade's lawyer, arrived with a metal briefcase and a pen that clicked like a gavel. You're certain you want to do this cleanly? She asked. No scandals that can boomerang, AD said. No vigilante victory. Evidence, judge, cuffs. Then we begin. She slid new will papers across the table. You executed this version last year, naming Moreo as primary beneficiary. We will revoke, execute a new will today, file quietly, and notify only your parents under seal. Everything goes under a protective trust until after whatever you stage. The children will be provided for education, therapy through a guardian ad litem, not through P. Moreo. If DNA disputes appear, contingency B locks the trust. Addie's eyes flickered. Order non-invasive DNA kits, discrete collection, samples from Daniel and Ziri hairbrush, toothbrush, confirm legal chain. Bissy nodded. Consider it done. Doctor? AD turned to Dr. Fatima on the laptop screen. Her face was clean, clinical, kind. I will not participate in anything illegal or that could permanently harm you, she said. But there is a monitored protocol used in certain rare neurology cases. It slows vitals under anesthetic control for precise imaging. In a controlled facility with full monitoring, your skin temperature, respiratory rate, and pulse could appear minimal to a casual check. It is not a magic death. It is risky. Ada said. We do this in a private suite, only my senior team. If anyone requests a verification of death, we give them a referral and ask them to wait for the official certificate from a separate admin office you don't control. Paper trail? Bar, Ifoma asked. Legible, Dr. Fatima said. Defensible. When wolves smile, the lion learns procedure. Night returned like a verdict. Rockwell's air conditioner hummed. AD watched another clip. Moreo twirling in their bedroom, black silk brushing her ankles, a cork popping like tiny thunder. Dubai, she whispered to the mirror. Spain. New name. New life. AD pressed pause and let the silence flood the room. The ghosts at the foot of the bed stood up. He called his parents in Ibadan and told them only the work was heavy and he loved them. His mother sniffed as if she could smell smoke across cities. Pray with me, she said. He did, quietly, and ended the call before the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Just after midnight, a message from Tiga blinked. Still frames from a pharmacy caracamal in a cap, buying a small brown bottle over the counter with cash. The label matched the one in Moreo's hand. The pharmacist would swear under oath later that it was an imported concentrate mislabeled as supplement, dangerous in quantity, invisible in a cold drink. Ada stared at the stills, the two people he had loved most in the world reflected back to him as strangers. He didn't cry. He listed tasks. Will revoked and re-executed. Secret cameras recording. DNA kits ordered. Hospital suite prepped. Staff briefed under NDAs. Vehicles rotated. Funeral venue mapped. Hidden mics for the day. Security brief to close gates on cue. AV planned to play evidence on command. At 4:06 a.m. he finally slept. A short, brutal dive into dark water. The morning after, Moreo texted a red heart back with a self-messy bun, flawless skin, captioned, "Miss you, come back safe." She placed a glass bottle of imported water on a silver tray in the living room and rehearsed a look of worry in the mirror. Daniel and Zuri were at school. She had insisted they stay late for club activities, less noise at home. Sunny pulled up to the back gate at 5:30. Ade's key turned in the kitchen lock at 5:42. "Welcome home, love," Moreo said softly, stepping into his arms. Her perfume was jasmine and war. Adi kissed her forehead. "I brought you tea from London," he said easily. "Tonight we rest." They sat. She poured. He let the glass touch his lip, then set it down and smiled. "Let's save it for dinner. I miss your pepper soup." A blink. A recalculation behind her eyes. Of course. She moved to the kitchen, lifted a pot she had already seasoned, and stirred. Adi excused himself, stepping into the study. He texted 3 words to Dr. Fatima. "We go tonight." He texted 1 sentence to Detective Tiga. "Record the kitchen." He texted 1 line to Bar. "Ifoma, execute contingency B." When he returned to the living room, the glass of water had been replaced with a fresh bottle. Morea's hands were steady, her smile was a painting hung too tight. She set dinner, sat across from him, and watched him with a softness she had practiced for a decade. After dessert, he touched his chest and let the rehearsed grimace arrive on cue. "Strange," he murmured. "Heartbeat, it's racing." He stood and swayed. Moreo moved with Oscar-level concern. "Adi? Adi!" He stumbled. Sani burst in on schedule. "Ogre!" The house staff clustered, a chorus of gasps. Within minutes, the Med-X ambulance wailed through the gate. Moreo cried loud, bigger than the room, as they hurried his gurney through the corridor of photographs she had once insisted they take in Santorini, in Marrakesh, in Lagos. Two people who had wanted forever before Car, forever changed its mind. In the private suite, under medical monitors, Adi's world thinned to beeps and white light. Dr. Fatima's voice was a metronome. "Hold, Mr. Olanrewaju, we're with you." Outside, Moreo paced the lobby, foam to ear. "Kunal, it's happening." He slumped. They took him in. "No, I won't look. God forbid. I can't. I'll call you." She never asked to see the body. She never asked for the death certificate. She waited for headline small ones at first, then a wave. She posted a black square. She wore black silk. She practiced sadness like ballet. In a quiet corner of Med-X, Ifama Faxitnot emailed the sealed will revocation to the probate registrar and sent a courier to file in person. The trust was active. The beneficiaries had changed. Paper had a new backbone. By midnight, the city had begun to hum with rumor. By dawn, the rumor had a name. Billionaire industrialist collapses in Abuja. Thread by thread, a web AD hadn't spun was catching its owners. They buried a lie in a bottle. They forgot truth can breathe. If you love justice twists with real payoffs, hit subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter, because tonight's lie is only Act 1. In the private suite, Ade opened his eyes. "We do it my way," he whispered. "I die on purpose and I rise on schedule." Med-X Suite 4 was a world outside the world. Hush, filtered light, machines whispering their binary prayers. AD emerged from monitored sedation with the heaviness of a man who had carried a city on his chest and set it down without a sound. Dr. Fatima checked his reflexes, then his eyes. "Short bursts only. Don't strain," she said. "Your vitals are ours, your story is yours. Keep them separate." "Story first," Ada managed. Detective Tiga slid a tablet across the rolling tray, a series of tiles, video, audio, timestamps. "We have you covered." Kitchen Cam called the bottle swap. Audio from Vanity has a clean confession. 2 drops and we're free. Pharmacy footage shows Kunal acquiring the exact brand used. We're pulling invoices. I've got an analyst correlating Kunal's vocation history with your international trips. The pattern isn't clean. It's deliberate. It started 8 months ago. 8? Ada repeated. "We've been married 10. Bissy entered with a small, zippered pouch and eyes rimmed with determination. "We have the children's samples," she said quietly. Housekeeper collected the hairbrushes and toothbrushes. Chain of custody sealed. AD touched the pouch like it was an exploding star. He didn't say the thought that barreled through his mind. "Results in 48 hours, Bissy said. "We'll process through a partner lab under a blind identifier and no names. If anything leaks, I quit law to start farming." AD almost smiled. Almost. Some truths whisper. Some arrive like thunder. The city howled by afternoon. Blogs gorged on speculation, a breakfast show booked a pastor and a psychologist to debate sudden deaths among the wealthy. A thread on X declared that money cannot buy peace. In Maitama, black fabric swarmed. A florist giggled over a receipt. A luxury undertaker took measurements as if grief had standard dimensions. Moreo stood in a skim of dramatic light, signing papers with nails that could draw blood or applause. She rehearsed. She wept. She sent the children to her mother's for the night, telling them it was grown-up stuff and to pray. On the phone, she spoke to Kunal in small, theatre blue phrases. "Soon, yes, after the will. Not yet, he's in the morgue, I can't. I'm grieving, Kunal. People are watching. Be patient." She never went to the morgue. At dusk, while Abuja mashed traffic into patients, AD listened to an audio bite where Moreo said, "Freedom in 2 drops. then scrubbed back and listened again like pain was a song he was trying to memorize. Bissy came back with chin high and jaw squared. "The registrar filed the will changes," she said. "It's sealed under Code Grey. If anyone tampers, it pings me and the judge's clerk." "And the estates board?" ADA asked. "Special session tomorrow morning," Ifoma said. "Before the burial. You will not attend." "I will. If Kunal attempts to act beyond mandate, security will walk him out." "Walk him out," Ada repeated, tasting the fairness of the words. Dr. Fatima adjusted a monitor, then glanced at him the way a sister glances when the storm finally hears its own noise. "Justice is dehydrating," she said lightly. "Sip water." AD sipped. "Vengeance is hot. Justice is clinical." The next morning brought 2 knocks, one soft, one seismic. The soft one was Stella, the night nurse assigned to Suite 4 when Dr. Fatima rotated out. She had patient hands and a voice that didn't drop pity into speech like sand. She changed the saline bag, took his temperature, glanced at the tablet left on the bedside cart. "That's a lot to hold," she murmured. "It is," Ade said. "Hold some," she said, "and let the rest be held." She wrote down his vitals with neat, careful digits and left the room smelling faintly of Dettol and citrus lotion. The seismic knock was Bissy with an envelope. AD's pulse spiked and settled. He opened it. He read what wasn't supposed to be possible. Twice. Then he set it down as if it could break the table. The termity excluded. Ifoma read. Clinical, unsparing. Both. He didn't speak. He didn't scream. His face did something quieter and more dangerous. It folded, like the way strong roofs sag months before they cave, and then it straightened because roofs don't choose the weather, they choose their bolts. "Chain of custody is intact," Bissy said. "We double her in. How long?" ADA asked. "At least 8 months," Tega said. "Perhaps more. There are gaps. But the pattern shows alignment with your foreign trips. We'll know more when we pull schedules." AD stared at the fluorescent light above him and remembered Daniel's first steps on the long hallway rug. He remembered Ziri falling asleep on his chest with her tiny hand splayed like a starfish across his shirt. "They are children," he said. "They are innocent. Whatever the law does to the guilty, the children do not carry it," Ifoma said. "The trust provides for them. Moreo cannot access it. A guardian ad litem will." AD nodded once. "Good." He closed his eyes and let the shape of his new family sit in the space where an old picture had hung. Walls change. Homes continue. Sometimes the deepest cuts don't bleed. They rename everything. The board session that afternoon was brief and surgical. Kunal arrived with a suit that fit and a smile that did not. He spoke of continuity and respect for the late chairman's vision. Ifoma slid a folder across the polished table inside. The revocation and trust placed operational control under an interim tri-chair with independent oversight. When Kunal raised his voice, 2 security men stepped forward the way commas enter a sentence to stop it from running on. He left in a hiss of cologne and indignation. At home, plans accelerated. A garden venue near the city centre. White tents. Black and gold dress code. A celebrity pastor confirmed. A string quartet booked. The press list curated with the precision of a scalpel. In the dressing room, Moreo practiced a eulogy full of adjectives that had cost her nothing to speak. In the mirror, pity suited her. She ordered a lace gown so black it looked like it could swallow light. "Dubai," Kunal texted. "After," she replied. "Let Abuja see perfection one last time." Detective Tiga placed a pinhole camera in the vase by the balcony and a directional mic behind a vent. He wore a caterer's lanyard and the posture of someone who could carry a tray and the truth at the same time. The devices watched as Moreo leaned into Kunal's chest and said, "He never suspected you. He trusted me," Kunal whispered back. They kissed. The camera didn't blink. In Med X Suite 4, Stella changed the bed linen while AD pretended not to be embarrassed that a stranger had to fold his private grief into crisp corners. "I'm sorry," he said. "This is human," she said. They were quiet a while. Then she asked, "What will you do with the part of you that still wants the life you thought you had?" "Bury it," he answered. "Where?" "On Saturday," he said. "In front of everyone." Her eyes flicked up for the first time. A small smile. "Then I'll make sure your jacket is pressed. When the stage is set, the truth rehearses too." On Friday evening, 2 days after the city began to mourn a man who was not dead, Ade rehearsed his own entrance with a lawyer, a pie, a doctor, and a PA. It was like planning a heist where the vault held not money, but dignity. Arrival time, during eulogy. Entry point, back gate, tinted SUV. Line, 1 sentence. Memorable, precise. Evidence, flash drive to AV desk, synced to projector, with live audio. Security, gates locked during reveal. Police liaison staged outside for clean transfer. Saturday morning came with a sky the color of unsent letters. Ade shaved the grief he could from his face and left the rest as witness. He put on a black suit that fit the man he had become and a pair of sunglasses that looked like composure. He tucked a flash drive into his inner pocket like a small, final promise. In the SUV, the city blurred a silver river of cars, markets waking, children in uniforms, a hawker balancing a basin of cold drinks on his head like a crown of small summers. Ade watched it all the way. A man watches the country he loves and the life he is leaving at the same time. The venue bloomed with white tents and expensive chairs, black bodies in gold accents like a high society eclipse. Cameras milled, lenses licking light. A giant portrait of Ade in a black frame watched the living. Front row, Moreo in midnight lace, eyes behind designer shades, spine straight as ambition. Beside her, Kunal wore grief the way an actor wears a costume perfectly, until the close-up. At 12:12 p.m., the program swelled into a late-morning elegy soft piano, a well-connected pastor speaking of seasons and sand and man's breath like grass. People dabbed eyes. Moreo rose for her eulogy like a swan stepping onto black water. The mic kissed her lips, her voice broke where she planned it to. My husband was a good manny. In the back, the tinted SUV door opened. If your heart beat a little faster there, Tat Like It helps more people find justice stories like this. Ada stepped into the aisle as a ripple turned to a wave. The mic flickered in Moreo's hand. He walked forward, alive, and the room forgot how to breathe. The garden forgot its music. 100 necks turned as if one invisible hand had tilted every face to the same point in the air. A gasp crawled across the crowd like wildfire. Someone dropped a glass. A little boy whispered, "Mummy, is that the man in the picture?" An auntie crossed herself in 3 denominations at once. Moreo's mouth opened and closed like a door with no hinges. The sunglasses slid down her nose, and for the first time in days, she stopped performing because her instrument had rebelled. Kunal stood. The muscle in his jaw worked. He half-stepped backward, half-stepped forward, then decided to freeze, the way prey sometimes thinks stillness is camouflage. Ade climbed the short steps, took the microphone from its stand, and removed his sunglasses like a man placing a crown on a table he no longer wanted. His face was the stillness you get after lightning, when you realize the tree you planted is alive, and the one beside it is smoke. "You forgot one thing," he said, voice calm. "You forgot to check the morgue." It landed like a stamp on a treaty. 1 line, 1 truth, 1 fall. He turned to the AV desk at the back and raised the flash drive between 2 fingers. "Play it." The screen behind the stage flickered from Lily's to a bedroom lit in late afternoon Moreo's bedroom. The angle, high and crystalline, watched without blinking. People saw the bottle. They had the line, 2 drops and we're free. They heard the giggle. Then, another cut. Balcony cam framing 2 silhouettes locked in a kiss. A timeline of deceit that didn't need narration. Another cut. Pharmacy stills Kunal in a cap, a receipt, a timestamp, a graph of his location overlapping Ade's travel logs like a wire braiding through weeks. The crowd broke. Grief turned to anger, turned to shame, turned to gossip, turned to silence. Ade's parents, escorted by Busy and a counselor, clung to each other, his mother's sobs reshaped and redefined. A pastor took 1 slow step backward and folded his hands as if prayer itself preferred to watch. Kunal lunged for the exit. 2 security men who had once guarded Ade's children moved, not as employees, but as men whose honesty had been insulted in their own uniforms. They closed the gate. It clanged with finality. Moreo dropped to her knees. "Listen." Ade faced her without malice. "Without anything." "I listened," he said. "You rehearsed well." She reached for the edge of his jacket. He stepped aside and she touched air. "Please, for the children are innocent," he said. "They will be provided for. You will not be the channel." Her face flickered. She swallowed. "We can fix this," she whispered. "We did not break a plate," he answered softly. "You burned a house." Some apologies arrive with gasoline. 2 plainclothes officers from the FCT command entered without spectacle. They did not swagger. They presented documents to the event manager. They walked in car marks that closed on 2 people like parentheses. "Adewale Olanrewaju, you are under arrest on suspicion of attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and fraud," one officer said, voice professional, bored with drama. Kunal Adigun, same charges plus corporate theft and falsification of documents. Cuffs clicked. The dress tore. A murmured "ha" rolled through the back row. Someone filmed. Someone didn't. Addy's face didn't change. As they were led past him, Morayo tried again. "AD, 10 years. He looked at her the way a surgeon looks at an X-ray that explains a decade of pain. 10 years, he said. That was the sentence. This is the release. The police moved them through the aisle. Kunal's cologne faltered under sweat. His mouth trembled into a sentence that had no grammar. "Bro, the board will see you in court," AD said. "Wear a suit. They will prefer it." The SUVs pulled away. Justice isn't loud. It's legible. If that reveal gave you goosebumps, share this with someone who loves a clean justice arcia. One share helps the channel more than you think. That evening, as the city argued over memes, an FCT judge denied bail. Papers filed. Dockets opened. The next stop would not be a funeral. It would be a courtroom. Courtrooms are theaters that sell a different ticket. Weeks turned like pages, motions were filed, evidence was catalogued with the appetite of a machine that lives on proof. The pharmacy footage, the vanity mic, the chandelier cam bank transfers to a shell company registered in Kunal's cousin's name, a thumb drive with metadata stitched tighter than rumor. The non-invasive DNA results and the trust provisions that made sure the children would not starve for their parents' sins. Each piece slid into place with the patient pressure of law. The first day, Morayo wore beige and humility. On the third, she wore grey. On the 7th, she wore defeat. Her counsel tried romance around coercion. My client was led astray, but the mic didn't blush and the camera had no crush to confess. Kunal's counsel tried to complicate simple facts. The pharmacy receipt stared at him with printed numbers that did not care about charisma. Lies love noise. Evidence loves labels. The judge was not theatrical. Her glasses slid down her nose only when reading, not when shaming. She used phrases like weight of evidence, preponderance, and clear intent, and you could feel the room tightening to the shape of those words. Verdict day came the way harmattan does in the air for days before it lands in your throat. The gavel was a dull drum. Sentences fell like measured rain. 20 years for attempted murder and conspiracy for both additional terms for fraud and corporate theft for Kunal. No melodrama. No last-minute monologues. Just a registrar in a robe, a clerk with a pen, 2 pairs of wrists, and a door that knows its job. AD didn't attend the last hearing. He had already decided that his presence at every page of a story was how he had lost the book. He was at his parents' compound in Ibadan, drinking tea on a veranda where lizards did push-ups on warm walls, and memory felt like a story told to someone gentler. "Marry again," his mother said. The advice was both ridiculous and tender. He smiled without promising anything. Some loves are a mountain, others are a river. He was learning the new map. Back in Abuja, the company settled into a steadier orbit. Interim chairs chaired audits, audited. A culture memo went around that said, "We are the company we prove we are." Ifoma smiled when she read it and did not admit she had drafted the first line over pepper soup at midnight. Stella, whose name no one would ever turn into a headline, kept coming to work with a braid tucked into a neat bun and a thermal cup she actually used for tea. When she found AD in a corridor outside an imaging review one afternoon, she did not turn her kindness up like volume. She simply nodded. "How is your sleep?" "Learning," he said. "Sleep is practice," she replied. "So is peace." They talked about neutral things, the way a house heals by fixing not just the wall that cracked, but the hinge that squeaks. He asked her to dinner in a voice that had not asked for much in months. "Jabi Lake," she suggested. "At sunset." They sat by water that had the decency to be quiet. They talked in a register where no one was performing for a camera about her brother's stubbornness and his father's yams about why some people confuse adrenaline for intimacy, about the difference between loyalty. He did not promise forever. He promised honesty. Not every new beginning needs fireworks. Some need a table and the truth. When he drove home that night, Abuja's lights looked like a city he hadn't met and wanted to. He parked outside a smaller house than the one that had held his old life. He unlocked a door that didn't need 4 codes and a thumbprint. He walked into rooms with fewer photographs and more air. On a shelf by the entryway sat a plain frame, no black border, no marble holding a different kind of portrait. Daniel, 8, grinning with a front tooth missing. Zuri, 6, braids crooked and proud. He had moved the picture here deliberately where he would see it every time he entered and left. Love could be complicated and still be love. Biology could refuse to align with Bond, and Bond could still adopt biology's duties. The trust's guardian would handle logistics. AD would handle phone calls, woven into a rhythm the court allowed slowly, safely, honestly. He had already promised them that the sins of adults would not be homework they had to do. On Sunday, he visited his parents again. His father wrapped an arm around his shoulder and said nothing. Sometimes the best counsel is a silence that doesn't abandon you. That evening, sitting alone on a step that smelled of sun, Ade recorded a voice note he did not send to anyone. He spoke it for the room, and the room heard it. "Never again will I worship the appearance of love," he said. "I will check the morgue. I will also check the mirror. We don't heal by forgetting the knife. We heal by learning to recognize it and by refusing to carry it forward." He rose and went inside. Not every ring is a covenant. Some are contracts for silence. Evil doesn't always arrive in darkness. Sometimes it rides in a convoy and smiles for the camera. Evidence is kindness to your future self. Keep it. Children should not pay for adult crimes. Protect them, even when love fails. New beginnings seldom roar. Most begin as a decision you make on an ordinary afternoon. If this story opened your eyes or steadied your heart, tell me one line you'll carry from it in the comments. And if you want more clean justice, arcs with receipts, reveals, and real consequences, subscribe now. Your like and your share help the next person who needs this kind of story find it.